When there is a poor political system, poor leadership, they believe that it is where we can get population problems, maybe like famine, hunger, unemployment, and other problems. So that was a belief of a father and his friend. So Malthus developed this theory to try to criticize his father that population problems, they are not resulting from political issues, they are not resulting from poor governance, they are resulting from population increase. That if population is increasing in an uncontrolled way, it will reach a time when it will result into different problems. They result into unemployment, into shortage of food, into wars, misunderstanding, because of population increase. So he was trying to make these observations so that to criticize his father, who believed that all population problems, they were resulting from political issues, or they were resulting from poor governance, of which Malthus believed that population problems were not resulting from political issues, were not resulting from poor governance, but they were resulting from uncontrolled population increase. Now, after that observation, he made this observation, like in the theory, that population, he observed that population was increasing at geometric rate. So this is the observation of Malthus. It means after making that observation around UK, he observed that during that time, population was increasing at geometric rate. When we say geometric rate, means numbers which are increasing by multiplying or multiplication. It means when we say it means it is like this population, it is going by maybe 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, then we have 64, we have 1, this one, etc. It means the common ratio there is 2. So it means it is going by multiplication. What do we conclude? It means according to Malthus, population, it was increasing, or it is increasing by multiplying. So it is increasing so fast. Likewise, he said food production, that is the ability of the resource to produce food or essentials of human life, food is, or say can say was, increasing at arithmetic rate. So according to him again, while population was increasing at geometric rate, then food, it was, or it is increasing at arithmetic rate. Arithmetic rate means it is increasing slowly by addition. So arithmetic rate by addition, while geometric rate by multiplication. It means by arithmetic, when we have 2, we have 4, we have 6, we have 8, we have 10, we have 12, etc. So you can find the rate at which food is increasing. It is slow because it's going arithmetically. That means by addition. While for the case of population growth, it is going by geometric. That means it is multiplying, going very fast. So according to him, it could reach a time when there will be a misbalance between food and what? And the population, because the population is increasing very fast. So for that case, it will reach a time when there will be disequilibrium between food supply and the population, because these two, they are increasing at different rate. This one is increasing faster than this one, so it will reach a time when food supply will be less than the amount of population which is there. Now for that case, we could have item like this one. If we have, this is time, we have this is either food or population. It means if we have food is in population, it is increasing this way. This is population increase. Population increase. Then we have this is food. This is food. It means before, despite population increasing very fast, still at this particular area, population is less than food. It means at this time, there are plenty or abundant food supply, where it is not easy to find population problems, because people, they get enough food, they get balanced diet, there is no problem here. Now, because population is increasing fast, it reaches a point here now, at this point, where at least the population is now matching with the, or balancing with the food supply. Now, beyond this level, Malthus suggested that the population will enter into the so-called population trap. Population trap. That is a point where now food supply or food production is less than the population available. For that case, during this time, during population trap, it is where now you can find the different population problems occurring, where you can find now there are unemployment, there are famine, hunger, malnutrition, and other problems which are resulted from rapid population increase because of uncontrolled population. So Malthus is suggesting that there should be measures to be taken to prevent countries from entering the population trap, because once you enter the population trap where population is greater than the food supplied, then you expect different problems to occur there. It is not always that where population is greater than food supply there is overpopulation. No, overpopulation we compare with the size of the carrying capacity of land. But sometimes you can find the carrying capacity of land is still very big, but food production is very small. So you can find even the number of people available cannot be fed by that available food. Now we say it is during this time when you can have the so-called population problems. So population problems will begin at this point where now population is greater than the food produced in this economy. Now, having seen this introduction of the theory that Malthus is relating food supply and the population growth, then let's check the assumptions which Malthus built to defend the theory. So there are some assumptions which Malthus explained to defend the theory. So we have the assumptions of the theory. Assumptions. Now, one of the assumptions here, we say food is the only factor for population growth. Or you can say food is an essential factor for population growth. So according to Malthus, he considered food to be the only or the very essential factor for population growth. It means for human being to multiply, for human being to increase, they depend much from food. So food is taken as the only factor for population growth. That is the first assumption. The second assumption, technology is fixed. What do we mean? When we say fixed, it means he is assuming that technology is not changing, it is constant. That means production activities, they are depending from a constant technology which is not changing. That means no improvement in technology. But also, Malthus is assuming also as there should be no international trade. No international trade. That means there should be no international trade or no trade between countries. That a country is depending only from domestic production. It is not importing food from other countries, but also it is not exporting food to other countries. So what is produced, it is consumed domestically, so that to reach a time when the food produced will not be enough to feed that population. This is one of the factors also. But also, according to Malthus, he said he assumed the law of diminishing returns. It means Malthus is assuming the law of diminishing returns to take place. Remember, the law of diminishing returns states when a unit of variable factors are added to a fixed factor, at the beginning, output will be increasing, but beyond a certain level, output will be decreasing. That is the law of diminishing return. So it is assuming that the law of diminishing return should be applicable in this case. But also, the other assumption, he said, that's number 5, the need for human being to multiply is constant. The need for human being to multiply is constant. What do you mean? It means the passion or the requirement for human being to reproduce, to increase, to multiply it is constant. It means all human beings, they are there to reproduce, to increase, to multiply. That is the case of this assumption. So these are some of the assumptions which Malthus built to defend the theory. Now, based on these assumptions, but also the introduction we have seen, we can conclude these explanations by observing this chart here. You can check this minor chart which is concluding these explanations. You can observe, come with me to check this chart. So assume we have this chart which is like this. We have here, we have Malthus, this which there it is Malthus population theory. That is at the top. Now at this particular point we expect, according to him, he suggests that this theory, it is built in two aspects. The first aspect, it is built explaining, here we say population growth, which we say it is going at geometric progression. And we gave an example, can give another example here. Maybe it is, if it is 1, it is 5, it is maybe 25, it is 120, 125, etc. That is for the case of, that means the common ratio here is 5. So for that case, this is population growth. But on the other hand, here we have food production or food supply. Food supply or food production. In this chart here, we said this one, it is increasing at arithmetic progression or at arithmetic rate. So we expect food to be increasing, maybe if it is 3 coming to 6, coming to 9, coming to 12, then going. So the common difference there is 3. So that is food production which is going at arithmetic. This is population growth, it is at arithmetic. Now these two, what are they bring? That means these two, what they are going to bring to us, they will bring the result. We want to see the result of the two. It means when the two they are moving, that is population is growing at geometric rate, this one is growing at arithmetic rate. The result, it will bring the so-called disequilibrium. Disequilibrium between the two. It means the two, one will be better than the other one, especially for this one which is increasing rapidly. It is increasing faster than the other one. So to reach a time when there will be disequilibrium, that means population will be greater than the food supplied in the economy. That is disequilibrium. Now after this disequilibrium, we expect the society to take measures to avoid this disequilibrium. That is what will happen in any society. The government, if they find that population is increasing fast and there is disequilibrium, then measures should be taken. Now the measures suggested here, they are of two. It means here now they will be having two measures. For this case, we'll have this. These are measures. I'm going to list them shortly. Again, here we have these measures. I'm going to explain them in deep. Now this side, the measures will be called the positive checks, which I'm going to explain. Then this side we have the so-called the preventive checks. It means, according to Malthus, when population is increasing very rapid, so fast, measures should be taken. Now those measures which are taken by man to reduce population growth rate by reducing death, it means preventive checks. These are all measures which are taken by man to prevent population growth by reducing or discouraging death rate. It means for human being, the measures you can make, they will be in most time leading to decline in death. That means we'll be controlling death. So it means we can see here, in case of those two checks, it means for preventive checks, we can check here, we said the preventive checks. These are man-made measures. They are measures taken by man to control population by controlling birth. So all measures which we think human being has taken to reduce birth or to control birth, then they are called the preventive measures or preventive checks. So Martha said there must be these measures to be taken so that population can be controlled. Now these measures, they include, for example, you can find issues of family planning. If you find a country, it is emphasizing on family planning programs. That means it is taking preventive measures, because the aim of family planning measures, it is to reduce birth. We are not reducing the number of children directly, it is indirectly, because when you say family planning, that means you give a reasonable gap between one child and the other child. That means the reproductive span will be shorter, and for that case you have smaller number of children. Because for example, if someone is maybe at the age of 25 and you want maybe to get one child after each 5 years, it means until the end of the productive span you have little number of children. So the aim is having a reasonable spacing or gap between one child and the other one. That is family planning. But the other one you can find, we have these issues of late marriage. Countries, they are emphasizing on late marriage. Even in Tanzania, we had a session in our parliament. We are discussing the reasonable age for girls to be married. That means they are trying to increase so that they reduce the reproductive span for them to reduce birth rate. Now for that case, all of these, if we find the countries or people, they are talking about late marriage. You can find this, some people, they are saying I'll get married at 35 years or at 30 years, because they are reducing that late or that reproductive span. That is late marriage. But also we have a program like improved education. It means you find here there should be proper programs of educating people, educating women, especially this program like empowering women, educating them, because educated women cannot be able to be used as instrument of multiplying the population, because most of them will also be busy with different projects, with different works. They are also employed, so you can find the time to reproduce will be limited. For example, if you go in rural areas, most of the women, they are used as instruments of reproduction just because they are idle. They are not busy with their works, they are just idle. But in urban areas, it is different, because women are also busy. They are busy with their works, they are busy with their programs. That's what you can find it is easier to control. The reason is because in urban areas, in cities, women are also educated, men are also educated. So you find the knowledge about controlling population, it is well understood. These are, we call them as preventive measures, and other measures which we think the government can take. For example, we had another one we can find the population policy. If you remember, we have so many countries in the world which they have introduced different population policies, including even Tanzanian population policy. That means this policy, they are aiming to control or to affect those population figures or population agents, like maybe death or migration. Now you can find, for example, if you in China they introduced the one-child policy. What is the meaning? The meaning, they aim at reducing birth, because the policy, it was aiming to make sure that each new family, it is going only to have one child. So the policy, which was enacted around 1978, that program, that policy was aiming to reduce birth or to reduce the rate of population growth. Then those are the so-called preventive measures, and so many others. So all of these, they are preventive measures, and we say these are man-made measures which, according to Malthus, they should be taken at least to control population by reducing birth. Then on the other hand, we have this side which we said these are called the positive checks. This side, the positive checks. Now the positive checks here, these we call them as natural checks. The positive checks, or positive population control measures. Now these positive checks, according to Malthus, if human being will not take measures we have discussed. If there are no measures taken to control population by human being, then there will be some checks which will occur naturally. That's why I said they are called natural checks. That means these ones, they are not introduced by man, they occur naturally. The population can control itself because the aim is to balance, because now we are in disequilibrium, so we want to balance. So the population can balance itself naturally. That means you can find some natural events which they occur and they are reducing population. Now in this case, these positive checks, they are aiming to control population but by increasing death. So see the difference here. I said in preventive checks, they are measures to control population made by man, but they are aiming at reducing death. Here, they are natural events that they aim at controlling population by increasing death. They increase death. That means all events which you can see around the world, they are increasing death. They are naturally controlling population to bring back the balance of population. We have these ones, they include, for example, we have maybe epidemics and the pandemics. We have the present going pandemics and epidemics which they are killing mass of people. Now according to Malthus, these diseases which they are outbreaking after a certain period of time, that means they are natural control population because they increase what? Death. For example, we have the former disease which like Ebola, which has taken hundreds of people, millions of people. But also we have the ongoing one, the COVID-19, which is killing people. This time the world is crying, the world is desperate just because of the COVID-19. And according to Malthus, all of these diseases, they are coming naturally to control population by increasing death. This is what was suggested by Malthus. We had in Tanzania another disease like very common dengue, which also killed a number of people. These are diseases which are just happening. They are coming. They are trying to balance the population by increasing death. These we call them as epidemics and pandemics, plus other many diseases you can see. But also we have another measure like occurrence of earthquakes or maybe volcanicity, of which they are also killing a number of people worldwide. Now these are also natural events which they are taken to control population by increasing death. We have others like even Tanzania, they are happening issues of floods. Uncontrolled floods you can find everywhere. We have cases even in Tanzania, Kilosa, this year we had those of Lindi and other places where once floods occurs, those of Jangwani and other areas, they kill a number of people. This is an indicator that it is reducing population by increasing death. Then we have the other one which is wars, uncontrolled wars, misunderstanding, civil wars between different societies. These ones, they are also increasing death, then reducing population. So again, it is a natural measure to control population. And we have the other one which is increased accidents. Increased accidents. So you can find in the country, there are so many accidents, increasing the accidents in different parts of the world. We have seen airplane crashes, which they are killing mass of people. We have found maybe the accident involving in waterborne vessels like ships. We have found maybe those accidents like in trains. So those accidents, they also increase death, so they control population by increasing death. This one we say they are called the positive checks because they are natural events that occur, they increase death, that's why they control population by increasing death. These ones we call them as positive checks. So we have tried to discuss on the preventive checks and the positive checks as they were suggested by Malthus. So according to him, if population is not controlled, either positive checks will control the population or preventive checks will control the population. This is the discussion of this one. So we get a short break, then after there we'll come to solve some questions which we will see them from the screen. Okay, welcome again. This is a session of attempting some questions here. Now you try to observe from the screen there, we have almost 4 questions We'll try to solve those which we can, then the remaining they will be used as the homework for you. So we have the first question, you can read. It is using concrete examples, show how the positive checks have been used to control population in Tanzania as suggested by Malthus. Using concrete examples, show how the positive checks have been used to control population in Tanzania as suggested by Malthus. So now, let us come back to what we discussed. Because the question is asking to show how the positive checks have been used to control population in Tanzania as it was suggested by Malthus. Now we have to go back. What are the positive checks? Because the question is asking to explain how does positive checks being used to control population in Tanzania. Remember I said positive checks, they are those natural measures of controlling population. They occur naturally without influence of human being. Now for that case, we can check from those we discussed if they have happened in Tanzania. So we can check some of them. For example, here you can say in Tanzania, positive checks, it is true that they have also been used to control population naturally. We have some events naturally which they are occurring, which they have reduced the size of population in one way or another. For that case, they are trying to control population by controlling them naturally. Now we have in Tanzania case one, we have the issue of increased accidents. Now in this part, when you explain and give reason, try to give those example of accidents which they have happened nationally. That means which they cover the whole nation. Don't give an example of an accident which happened in a street somewhere, of which someone doesn't know. You know you just alone. So for that case, we have vivid examples of different accidents which they have controlled the population in Tanzania at different times. For example, we can give example of those of the MV Bukoba. So can give the specific year when it happened. We have those of the, if you remember, the Lucky Vicent, I think it was in Arusha, where of that school, the Lucky Vicent school, they had that very big accident. So these are some examples. You have the MV Spice, something like. They have also increased the accidents, of which they have increased the deaths to people, then controlling population. We have several road accidents. They are happening in Tanzania. They are also reducing, especially for those interregional buses. They are including a lot of accidents, which they are also reducing population. So because the accident is one of the positive check, then in Tanzania also it has been used to control population. The second one for the case of Tanzania, because the question is asking in Tanzania, then you have the issue of increased epidemics and the pandemic. So again, we go back to vivid examples. We have maybe the dengue or dengue, which it also in Tanzania. We have the issue of COVID-19, this disease also, and other many diseases which they are happening, and they are reducing number of people in Tanzania. They are part and parcel of the positive checks. We have another case in Tanzania, the increased occurrence of natural hazards like we have earthquake. We remember that one of Kagera. We had some parts we have issues of droughts in some areas, etc. This is an indicator that the population is controlling itself naturally. We have another one, it is floods, occurrence of floods in different parts of the country. We gave an example of people around maybe Kilosa. I said the example of Lindi, the Jangwani in Dar es Salaam, those areas where in each year when there is an unusual rain, you find mass of people, a number of people they are killed because of these ongoing floods. Now for that case, these are also positive checks to control population. This is for the case of Tanzania. So from Tanzania, we can suggest some of these examples as we can see from Tanzania. This is for the case of the first question. So as Martha suggested, at least these checks, they can also be applicable in Tanzania. Now we move to the second question. This was question number 1. Move to the second question. Now for the second question, the question is asking, using vivid examples, show the applicability of Malthus population theory in Africa. Using vivid examples, show the applicability of Malthus population theory in Africa. It means in the second question, that is question 2, we want to see the applicability of Malthus theory in Africa. Applicability of Malthus theory in Africa. Now, when we say applicability, it means we want to see, is Malthus theory applicable in Africa? Remember, we are talking Africa as a continent with more than 50 countries. Now, I want to see, is the theory of Malthus applicable in Africa? Have it been applied? Or are there cases of this theory, you can observe them in Africa? That's what we want to prove. So I want to prove that Malthus population theory, it is very applicable in Africa, because you can suggest some events or some areas where the theory it is applicable. Now, the applicability of Malthus population theory in Africa, they include in the following. Number 1, there are countries. So there are countries with higher population growth rate. That is the first applicability. It means there are countries in Africa which they have higher population growth rate. Population growth rate, it is the rate at which population is growing. It is calculated in different ways. In Tanzania, we calculate or get it after each population census. They calculate the new population growth rate that it is indicating the population increase. Now it is at this rate. It is calculated in terms of percentages. Now there are some countries in Africa which their population growth rate, it is very higher. For example, we have the South Sudan, of which now the population growth rate is 3.8%. This is very big, because in developed countries you can find it is below 2. You can find 1.8, 1.5. So if it is going to 3.8%, this is indicator that there is higher population growth in some areas in Tanzania. So, in Africa. Now, for that case, there are indicators of applicability of Malthus theory in Africa. We have countries like Angola, Angola, which is 3.5%. That is an example. So we have Malawi, which is one of our neighbor. They are to 3.3%. This is an indicator that there is high population growth rate in Africa. So it means population is increasing rapidly in some of the areas. So if you check the population of these countries, some of them, it is not very big, but what we measure, it is the rate at which this population is increasing. So maybe after a certain number of years, the population will be very big in those areas, but this is the rate. But to conclude, for this case, most of the African countries, their population growth rate, it is above 2.5%. Most of the African countries, above 2.5%, most of the Africa. For example, in Tanzania, particularly, the population growth rate is going to 2.75, which is almost 2.8. So as I said, in most of the African countries, the population growth rate is above 2.5%. This is indicating that there is high population growth rate in Africa. The second applicability of Malthus population theory, there is existence of famine and prolonged hunger in some countries. So again, some African countries, they are facing this problem. They have famine. They have prolonged hunger in their countries. This is indicating that probably the ability of that country to produce food is less than the population available. Because Martha said it will reach a time when there will be problem like this one, just because population has increased the above ability to produce what? Food. So we have countries, again, like we have the Southern or South Sudan, we have Somalia, we have the new case of Ethiopia, which is now even discussed by the United Nations, that if in Ethiopia there is prolonged hunger and they need majority of Ethiopian population, they need assistance from outside because they are facing a complete hunger. Maybe it has been brought by drought or any other climatic changes, but there are ongoing famine and hunger in Ethiopia, which they need assistance from other countries, because even the United Nations is considering how to take measures to help this country recently. So for that case, this is an indicator that these countries, their population might be greater than the bit of the land or their resources to produce food to supply to this population. This is for the case of this one. Number 3, applicability. We have existence of epidemics and pandemics. That is another evidence that not all population theory is applicable in Africa. We can see there is increasingly epidemics and pandemics. We have examples we have been giving them. For example, we have the ongoing, we said we have, for example, the Ebola, which is still in Africa, around the Congo, you can find still existing those problems. We have the new problem, which is COVID-19. So all of these, they are diseases which they are coming out as suggested by Malthus. So it is one of the applicability of the Malthus population theory. But also we have number 4, which is increasingly poor living standard of people in many countries. Poor living standard. This is indicating that they are not getting enough food, they are not getting enough services, they are not getting enough requirements. So most of the people in Africa, they are in poor living standard in many countries. It is suggested that more than 40% of African population, they are living below poverty line. This is indicated that they are in poor living standard, because 40% of the population in Africa, they are living below the poverty line. This is indicated that these people, they are living in poor living standard. This is one of the cases. We have the other one, low life expectancy. Where in Africa again, life expectancy is very low. Life expectancy, we said, we recall from the class that the number of years an individual is expected to live before death. That's life expectancy. Now, the life expectancy of Africa is less than 60 years. Less than 60 years. So you can find some countries 45 years, some 50 years, some 55 years. So it is less than 60 years. But if you go and develop the countries, they are going even above 70 years. So for that case, we have low living life expectancy just because of ongoing problems in Africa, as suggested by Malthus. And the other problem, we have problem of political misunderstandings. Political misunderstandings like wars. You can find there are many misunderstandings going on in Africa. Countries, they are fighting. We have got a lot of rebels from here and there. So these misunderstandings, they are also suggested by Malthus as part and parcel of the positive checks. That if we find countries they are fighting, they have misunderstanding, they have wars, it is indicated that they are naturally fighting, leading into deaths, reducing population in natural ways. So it is one of the way of controlling population by increasing death. So if we find the African countries going into misunderstanding, fightings, civil wars, this is an indicator that the Malthus population theory, it is applying in Africa. This is for the question number 2, as we have discussed it. So this is the applicability of manufactured production theory in Africa. Then now, question number 3. Question number 3, you can again read from the board. Question number 3. Question number 3, it is asking, explain the measures that may be taken to avoid the society to move into population trap. Explain the measures that may be taken to avoid the society, or you can say the country, to move into population trap. What can be done in the society, maybe in Tanzania? What should we do to avoid our country to move into population trap? We say population trap at that point where now population is larger than the food available, of which now the possibility of it to increase further may be limited because food is not enough. So what should be done at least to make sure that the population is not moving into that population trap? Now some of the measures here, question number 3, measures. Some of the measures here, they can include these ones. One, it is population control programs. That's one. That means the country should initiate, we should initiate different population controlling programs. For example, as we said in family planning. So we should go on giving emphasis on the importance of family planning, because family planning can help us to reduce the population. So this is one of the program or the measure we can use to avoid the country from moving towards population trap. And another one, it is discouraging marriages. That is one of the method or measures of controlling a population to avoid it to go into population trap. That is to discourage early marriages. Early marriages, as I said, they are, when someone is married at younger ages, the reproductive span is longer. For that case, the expectation to have a large number of children, it is there. So for that case, we have to discourage early marriages. For example, in Tanzania, even the government, it is strictly prohibiting early marriages. That's why by using the enacted laws by the parliament, they are discouraging early marriages, at least to be married at reasonable age. This is one of the measures to be taken. But also improving infrastructures, infrastructures such as transport network like roads, railways, airport, and other forms of transport. They should be improved so that they facilitate movement of food, movement of resource from one area to another, so that those areas which they are facing, maybe they have hunger, they have problem of food, they can get enough food. For example, maybe we have regions in Tanzania which they are producing food in excess, that is, they are overproducing. But when those areas are connected by roads or by any other means of transport with the other areas, those food can be taken to those areas which they have shortage. For example, maybe you can find maybe people around the maybe southern region, they produce cereal crops above or in excess, but there are some other regions which they do not have those kind of crops. Then they should be transported by those modern infrastructures to reach those areas. So one of the measure is to make sure that we improve infrastructures, and once the government is improving these infrastructures, we should be capable to maintain them, to keep them in a good order so that they can be used for longer time. Because one of the reasons also, the infrastructure may be constructed, but we misuse them somewhere in one way or another. So for that case, once they are constructed, we have to maintain and use them in a good order. Another measure we can use also, it is improvement in education through training and retraining. Improvement of education through training and retraining, so we can retrain those people who are in work, who are maybe in their own activities, they can be retrained to become more productive, to become more efficient, to increase production, to increase efficiency. But also those new who are entering into jobs, they should be trained to become efficient, to become productive by training them in a good way. The other one we can do, it is engaging in international trade. International trade, it means we can also improve international trade between our country and other countries, so that at least when there is shortage of food, there is shortage of requirements, we can import them from other countries which we are trading together. And finally, we have to improve the improvement in regional economic integration. Improvement in regional economic integration. So then here we can improve our involvement in regional economic integration. Integration like the East African Community, like the SADC, and the other integration which we are members in those, we can improve our involvement, so that during shortage of food, we can import food at cheaper prices or at lower prices. For that case, we might reduce where there are shortages. So for any country to reduce or to avoid the country from entering into inflation trap, it should also maintain or improve regional integration with other countries. If we arrange international cooperations, economic regions, then you have to improve to maintain provision and supply of food to your country. This is for the case of question number 3. So these are some of the points and the measures you can use to avoid the country from moving into population. Okay, so we have tried to solve question number 1, which was using concrete examples, show how positive checks have been used to control population in Tanzania, as suggested by Manthas. We have also solved question number 2, which was using vivid examples, show the applicability of Manthas population theory in Africa. And we solved also question number 3, which was explain the measures that may be taken to avoid the society or the country to move into population trap. Now question number 4, which is analyze the weaknesses of Malthus population theory, it will be taken as your homework. So make sure that at your own time you go and explain the weaknesses of Malthus population theory. We have discussed the assumptions, and remember in economics most time we criticize the assumptions, so you have the answers there already. So go and work on that one for the weaknesses of Malthus population theory. This is the end of our lesson. Otherwise, I wish you all the best. Study hard for the coming exams.